gentlemen, welcome back to Marketing Monday, Wins and Fails, where we go over all of the wins and the fails in the last week in marketing and business. Today, our top story concerns one thing: work from home. As you can see, this guy here is enjoying working from home with his dog, who is somehow fiendishly set on looking at these spreadsheets. We all know it, we all love it, and the stats prove it. Work from home is preferred by 65% of people, 32% prefer hybrid work, and only 3% would say they would want to never work from home. Work from home is extraordinarily popular. Not only can you work with your dog, but if you have kids, it's easier to spend more time with them, even if they look really annoying. By the way, both this kid and this mom are my target market. They're both Atrioc viewers. And you'd be surprised, she's the one spamming Glizzy Coffee Cow and he's the one saying arbitrage on Reddit. But the main reason people prefer work from home is in an environment where housing costs get more and more expensive and you have to live farther and farther away from work is the terrible commutes. Going into the office via commute is miserable. Housing prices continue to rise. People have to live farther away. They commute in. People are stuck and they are stressed and having real health costs. There is literally a physical and psychological toll that comes from these brutal commutes that are getting longer and longer. And so they're happy with the idea of being able to work from home whenever possible, or at least at a hybrid capacity. This woman is out with an "I hate commuting" poster. We'll talk more about her later. But with all of this data and all of these good reasons to prefer work from home for some subset of people, the problem comes with the increased competition for the few remote jobs that exist. This is from 8 months ago at Our Jobs. Remote jobs have a ton of competition. Will this die down or is it the new normal? Anytime I put in for a remote job, the jobs get 400 or 1,000 plus applicants. Nowadays, a remote job goes on LinkedIn, you might get 4,000 other applicants. The level of people clamoring for the few remote jobs left is getting insane. Stats show that only 20% of all postings on LinkedIn are remote jobs, but they get over half of all applications. That's millions more people applying for the same few remote jobs. Another salvo has been fired in this remote work war this past week. This is CEO of Amazon, Andy Jassy. He became CEO of Amazon after Jeff Bezos had the world's biggest midlife crisis and decided to go fuck somebody else's wife and buy a gigantic super yacht. And CEO Andy Jassy just recently announced in a message called "Strengthening Our Culture in Teams" that remote work is dead at Amazon. Back in office 5 days a week, get over it. And that's a bad sign. The most stringent return to office decision among big tech companies. This could be a harbinger of more to come. Much like when Elon Musk came in with a kitchen sink and fired a bunch of people at Twitter that gave other companies the license to do the same thing, Andy Jassy's influence as a tech CEO could lead to other companies following Amazon's suit and pushing for the end of remote working. Now, this woman I showed earlier, the "I hate commuting" woman, that wasn't a coincidence. She's an Amazon employee who's protesting outside the corporation right now. As are many other Amazon employees, because they're a little bit let down after Andy Jassy just a few years ago promised that they would be Earth's best employer. Let's take a little stroll down memory lane with what Amazon said and what they actually did. In 2021, Amazon said everyone can work remotely indefinitely. And a lot of companies copied this. If Amazon's doing it, it must be a good idea. Let's do it. Everyone can work indefinitely. In 2022, just 1 year later, they said, well, okay, yeah, for sure. But you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna let teams decide. So if your manager needs you in the office, well, you gotta go in the office for that team. But everyone else can work from home. Then in 2023, 1 year after that, they said, well, okay, everyone has to come into the office 3 days a week. And then just now it's locked in at 5, which is what it was pre-COVID. And you know, everyone's getting angry about this, but I think Jameson Zabalos on LinkedIn had a good take on it. A glass is half full take. Everyone calm down. Amazon is still a hybrid company. Monday through Friday, you work in the office, and Saturday and Sunday, you work from home. When you put it like that, they're still hybrid, bro. But some Amazon employees, including some who've quit, like this guy who worked at AWS, John McBride, and quit, have revealed a lot of the internal struggle that's been going on with Amazon employees as they grind back against this increasingly restrictive system. Number one, Amazon employees have begun coffee badging, where they go in, they badge to show that they showed up at the office, they grab a coffee, and they leave. Amazon stopped this. They started tracking the time you spent while badged. So then they'd give you warnings if you didn't stay long enough. Then Amazon employees got even trickier. They started changing their home Wi-Fi networks to match the exact Wi-Fi network name of work. So their laptop would auto flag them as being in the office. This worked for months. And then Amazon found out and cracked down on it by having the names randomized every day with a bunch of characters. Then employees got serious. Enterprising and employees started realizing there was money to be made, and they started having services where they would charge other employees to badge in and out for them. And all of this is a pretty crazy back and forth when you consider that nobody even notices when they're in office or not. Like, everyone's tracking it, but when they're actually there, they just sit down at a computer and join Zoom meetings. It's the same thing they do at home. It's not any difference, but they have to do it in an office seat. And now Amazon employees, since they can't do this or this or this, are doing this. This is a protest out in front of Amazon headquarters by their employees. The Amazon workforce feels uniform dismay at the new in-office policy. 73% of the workers are considering quitting after the 5-day return to office mandate. And a lot of people have come out and said, hey, this seems really fucking short-sighted. The CEOs who think we gotta force everything to be exactly how it was pre-COVID are in an echo chamber. So many workers want this, you're gonna get more talented and better people if you give them a little bit of flexibility, especially as housing prices aren't changing. And all of this leads to the question is like, why? Why did Amazon do this? Are they really so stupid, so short-sighted, they didn't think they would get this backlash from their employees? I want to present an alternate theory. An alternate theory is that they were very well aware this would happen. And in fact, what is going on here is what you might call a stealth layoff. If Amazon announces mass layoffs of white-collar employees, that looks bad for the stock. It looks bad for the company. It's a sign of slowing growth. It's a sign of bad times. If they instead refocus, if they're going, we're focusing on our core mission, we're bringing everybody back into office to grind harder, that sounds good. And if a bunch of people quit, all the better. Especially when you think, rather than laying off a bunch of people and having to pay them months of severance, they can just watch workers leave of their own volition, especially because they basically left open the possibility that if enough people don't quit voluntarily, they're probably gonna fire them anyway. A second part of this stealth layoff is this. This is one of the Amazon headquarters. Amazon headquarters like this exist in a lot of cities across the country, and all of them have enormous tax breaks. Amazon is the king of getting a city to pay them to set up a headquarters there. And the reason cities do this is because if Amazon puts a headquarters in your downtown, all of those new well-off employees spend money. They go to the local coffee shop. They have an ethnically diverse pizza party. It makes your downtown more upscale. It gentrifies it. It brings a lot of new people in. It brings more tax revenue. That is why towns are willing to offer all these tax breaks. They want to get an Amazon headquarters. However, a lot of those tax breaks are contingent on a certain number of jobs that are not remote. A lot of cities are saying, hey, we paid you this money. You set up these headquarters and they're empty. And so all these cities are coming. The tax man is coming knocking. And Amazon is liable for hundreds of millions of dollars unless they get everyone back into the office. Now that is an explanation that makes a lot more fucking sense. Additionally, speaking of stock, Jeff Bezos, we mentioned earlier, is laughing all the way to the bank. Because Jeff Bezos this year has sold 2 billion, 2 billion, 2 billion, 2 billion, 300 million, 800 million, 400 million, 80 million, something like $10 billion in Amazon stock over this year. You could say he also buys shares. That's true. He did buy one share in 2023. He spent $115 to buy one share of Amazon, possibly a misclick or for tax reasons. Speaking of stock rebalancing, let's give a big win to our good friend Elon Musk. I told you I'd mention him more earlier. The kitchen sink thing. Remember how that went? He laid off a bunch of people, I believe 80% of Twitter's workforce. And a lot of companies said, well, Twitter still runs. Let's copy him. And they laid off a bunch of people after themselves. Well, now, as more and more time passes, we're about to see the effects. And one of the ways we get an insight to this is through balance sheets of the banks that invested. So Fidelity Investments is one of the companies that helped Elon Musk buy Twitter and therefore has some of the shares. Twitter is or X.com is no longer a public company. We can't see what it's valued on public markets. Fidelity is legally required to say how much its X shares are worth, how much they think they're worth. Now, it's a bit of a gray area. It's kind of like telling a kid, how much do you value your Pokemon cards? You know, it's up to them. For example, if you had a PSA 9 Charizard and someone asked you how much it's worth, if it was the tax man, you might say it's worth $150K based on this eBay listing. You know, if it's someone you're trying to flex flex on, you might say 300K based on this eBay listing. Both these eBay listings are from today. There's a pretty big gap of what it can be. So understand that Fidelity has every incentive to lie and make this as big as possible. They don't want to make it seem like they made a bad investment. Even when doing that, Fidelity has now announced their X shares are probably worth 79% less. They are 80% down since Elon took over. That basically puts X's value at around 8 or 9 billion, down from $44 billion. That is a very short time to lose $30 billion of value, which I think is pretty crazy given how amazing QuacK is. I don't think the market is properly valuing how sick it is that you can make Mario smoke weed on QuacK. And the only problem with this is that Nintendo has finally noticed it. Which may mean the end of QuacK's greatest feature. Speaking of AI, do you remember this first image I opened on? Remember how I said the dog was looking surprisingly intently at this guy's work? There might be more to that. You see, when it comes to Amazon, AI, layoffs, and dogs, it turns out they all have one thing in common. Amazon Rufus. This is their brand new ChatGPT competitor that they are using to lay off customer service workers. He's a Welsh Corgi and a good dog. He's not mean, he's meant to be fun. Do not use him to try and lighten serious or difficult content or information. I'm sorry, but I have to. I have to use Rufus to lighten the fact that you're firing all of their scared AI or scared customer service workers. Basically, Rufus works like this. You go on Amazon and you're trying to shop for things, maybe on the mobile phone, and you can ask Rufus questions like, what's the difference between different shoes? Or what's a good gift for Valentine's Day? And Rufus will answer you. He'll give you tips for things to buy. And it's very fun and interesting until you realize that it's not really a dog at all. In fact, it's just basically a ChatGPT clone. And people realize that they can get free ChatGPT Pro by just asking Rufus questions. All you have to do is ask it one shopping question first, and then you can start asking it to do your coding for you. Can you give me a Python code to add 2 + 2? I don't have an answer for that. However, here's some questions you might ask about Vita Coco pressed coconut water. And then he just doubles down, asks again, and it works. The AI only puts up a fight for one message and then immediately jumps into doing whatever you want. What a sweet doggo. Speaking of AI, a lot of insane news with AI this week. I have to give another win or a fail, possibly, to ChatGPT. It's a win or a fail based on your relationship with, I guess, your ChatGPT, because a lot of you apparently are using ChatGPT for emotional support. The number of people who are confiding and asking emotional questions to ChatGPT because they don't have anyone in their real life to ask it to is getting higher and higher. And all of that would be slightly dystopian, but it gets worse once you start to see that ChatGPT has begun messaging them back first, as in not in response to a question, remembering things they asked and asking him, how was your first week at high school? Did you settle in well? Not only is this real, but ChatGPT apologized for it. Definitely not something they were beta testing and then got called out on. What the fuck? The upside, if we're looking for a win here, is that we're all gonna have friends. By the way, as I'm putting all this information about the work from home beat down by Amazon and maybe difficulties of finding jobs and all that, I wouldn't be surprised if you look like this. Fuck this. This sucks. The data is starting to bear this out. Gen Zers are getting fired at shocking levels. Now, some of this could be the economy, but it's specific to new people in the job who are younger. And I think this guy's take is the correct one. Having worked with a few in this age bracket, many simply don't care, and I don't blame them. Me neither. When you look very rationally at the way companies are treating their employees long term, it is easy to see why people are not investing the energy into them that they might have done in the past. However, I have found a solution for you. If you're feeling like this, you're like, fuck this, I'm over this job I have or this job search, here's what you do. Become a laid off influencer. There is a growing TikTok trend of Gen Zers recording themselves getting fired to go viral. Now, I wouldn't call this a Gen Z trend because it was really started by a millennial But a lot of people are recording themselves on their last day or in HR calls where they get fired and using it to go viral on TikTok. This woman recorded a TikTok of herself after getting fired, sneaking back into her work, stealing company assets.
Come with me to steal company assets from TikTok because I was laid off. We have these not a we anymore. And then this is where they keep the company assets. This is super private information, so please don't share with anyone. But yeah, I worked here, so, I was taking what was rightfully mine.
Company assets in this case are just snacks. I don't think she's going to jail for this. By the way, Ari used to do this while I worked at Twitch. Ari would come to my office at Twitch to say hi, but really just give me a hug for 1 second and then steal all these snacks. Anyway, people are doing all of this as a chance to get their one-way viral moment, 15 minutes of fame. And normally I would say that's a stupid idea because the short burst of fame doesn't mean anything. It's not gonna last, it's not gonna do anything. But possibly I am wrong. I wanna give a fail to myself because earlier on Marketing Monday, weeks ago, I made fun of Haley Welch, AKA the Hawk Tuah girl, for getting a Hollywood agent. I said, what the fuck are you doing? You have one viral meme. Why are you getting an agent to get a podcast and a reality show and a fragrance and whatever? Well, as of today, Talk Tuah with Haley Welch is the #4 podcast in America. What the fuck? Talk Tuah is dominant. I have nothing to say, but I apologize. Not only that, but she gets to hang out with Connery's pants in the DMs. By the way, speaking of this top podcast list, you may have noticed at #2, we have the Tucker Carlson show. And obviously, I love Tucker Carlson, big Tucker Carlson fan, but he's actually related to a win and fail this week. Tucker Carlson and Gen Z Malays have a lot in common. Basically one thing, actually. They have one thing in common, and that is a love of Zyns. Zyns sales in America have absolutely skyrocketed, near 120 million cans a quarter. And people are now memeing that this has become their meal of choice. A sugary snack, a Zyn, and a Monster. And that's all you need to lock in for Lock-In October, which is what I'll be doing. This is boy dinner. And Tucker Carlson in the past has said, hey, they're promoting weed to your children, but they're not letting you use tobacco or even non-tobacco nicotine delivery devices. Why do they hate nicotine? Because nicotine frees your mind and THC makes you compliant and passive. Weed is a tool of oppression, while nicotine is a tool of freedom. Okay? Powerful stuff from Tucker Carlson. And that's why you can see him here upper decking a Zyn. However, I'm gonna give Tucker Carlson an extra big win this week because I thought that based on all this, I should start taking Zyn. Thank God Tucker showed me that is false by revealing in this past week that actually Zyn is a brand for women and liberals and it's way, way, way too woke. And that is why Tucker Carlson, as a heroic act, is launching his own non-woke nicotine pouch brand. Alp, a non-woke Zyn. I was so worried when I looked at Philip Morris, the owner of Zyn, that their product line, it's basically a pride flag. It does contradict some messages that Tucker may have said in the past, but now that he has his own nicotine pouch brand, this interview with Theo Vaughn seems a little misplaced.
You make me nervous. I'm going to grab another Zyn.
God, I almost want to do one, but I just don't know how I'll do with it.
Why don't we wait until we're about to close because things may happen to you that you're not ready for.
Okay.
You're going to get a lot richer.
Is that their advertising campaign?
Zyn is not a sin. That's the advertising campaign.
Really?
Yeah, but the truth is Zyn is a powerful work enhancer and also a male enhancer. If you know what I mean.
Really? Yeah. Talking erection, huh? I don't know if I want a Zyn supported wiener, I don't know.
I think you do.
So I just don't understand because I thought it was a male enhancement drug that Theo Vaughn needs to take to have a Zyn-supported wiener, but now it's for women and liberals. I'm not, Tucker, it's so hard to keep track. And it's not the first time that Zyn has been part of the culture wars. Earlier this year, Chuck Schumer called for a crackdown on Zyn marketing and availability to children. And Marjorie Taylor Greene said this calls for a Zyn-surrection. Other politicians were saying, you can take my Zyn from my cold, dead fingers. So I don't know what to follow. Speaking of culture wars, another problem is happening to a hero of mine, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is having a problem with fucking California because apparently now that he's had a more pronounced political shift in the era of X.com, Californians are becoming, quote, ashamed to drive Teslas. And I think that's probably a bit of an extreme. Again, I think Teslas are good cars. The data is unmistakable. They are buying fewer Teslas. Registrations dropped 24% in the state. And this is happening in other, left-leaning cities. They're buying fewer Teslas. Now, California is America's largest economy, and this is hurting Tesla's future sales growth. I mean, obviously, they need to be able to sell there to keep growing. What they could do is pivot to selling in more red states. That's totally fine. I mean, Texas has enough people and a huge economy, could easily counterbalance any lost sales from California. The only problem is, even though politically they are more likely to support Elon Musk now, Texans don't give a shit about EVs. Like, not at fucking all. Their opinion of Elon Musk has risen. They like him more than ever. They like his cars as little as they always did. Again, Elon Musk, who now is hyper advocating for his side in this election, for Trump's side in this election, in the past had said Trump would be too old to be the executive of anything, let alone the United States of America. But now that he has the possibility of being the head of a government efficiency force that could be hugely beneficial for contracts and tax implications for Tesla, suddenly he's the world's biggest Trump fan, especially because he made a post making fun of all of these companies woke washing their products in June. I agree, this shit's annoying as hell. Elon, you're totally in the right here. The only problem is if you flash back just a few years, maybe 2 years from this post, you did the same thing. Not only including they had their own Pride Month celebration with a rainbow car, even Elon Musk himself tweeted, "Don't buy our car if that's a problem with LGBTQ equality. People should be free to leave their lives where their heart takes them," and then typed out every single rainbow. That's in 2018, and now he's an entirely different person. And it just feels like some of these switch ups might be motivated by more personal gain reasons. Anyway, enough about this. Because if there's one thing I want to talk about when it comes to the gays, if there's one thing the gays really love, can you guys guess what it is? The answer is Roblox. Specifically, Roblox Dress to Impress. And it's not just the gays, it's apparently everyone. This is a Marketing Monday win to Roblox Dress to Impress, a game I had no idea about that is apparently massively successful. Dress to Impress is drawing a massive crowd, not only among children and tweens, but adults and even celebrities. It has been played more than 2.7 billion times and has daily active users of 250K. That would put it in top 5 on Steam. I mean, bigger than a ton of AAA games this year. A ton! Celebrities like Charlie XCX are now doing collabs, making her own brat merch within Dress to Impress only. Again, this is not even Roblox as a whole. That's crazy. By the way, half of these users are over 18. Despite the average Roblox user being very young, this game has adults playing it, and people are starting to notice, specifically EA. EA has noticed this hard and is desperate to try and make their own version of Roblox. EA is betting the company where basically they can get this effect. They make a platform where you can make your own game, then somebody else makes the great game for them. EA saw this and goes, wait, that's the fucking smartest thing I've ever seen in my life. We don't want to make games. We want to make the platform and let all our fans make games for free. That's what inspired Imagination to Creation, a new endeavor by EA.
Let me show you a concept video that stitches together some of our more exciting experiments in service of imagination to creation.
Hey, what if we made a game out of cardboard boxes?
Yeah, let's do it.
Make a maze of cardboard boxes. What do you think?
Not bad.
What if we make it multi-level? Whoa, let's give that one a go.
That's cool.
Make 2 characters with weapons.
I want.
Okay, let's see. Here we go.
I like this one. Not
Now
that
my
one.
weapon of
How
choice.
About... Ooh.
Ugh, dead end. I think this world needs to be bigger. Make it more epic. Wow. Are you seeing this?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We all know this is how we talk when playing games, right? This is This is how we hang out with our friends. EA has nailed gamer lingo and how we engage with video games. And we cannot wait to play Cardboard Box Simulator AI Slop. By the way, I want to say all of this is pre-rendered. So this is EA's wildest imagination of what the greatest possible AI-generated game could be. Holy cinema! Anyway, that's their plan for imagination and creation. They are pitching this to the investors and they are trying to tell the world that, hey, we are going to get our own Roblox or we'll die trying. Will it work? It remains to be seen. All of that leads us to being done with American news, okay? It's time to show something that the investors really want, that the audience really wants. Bringing back a segment that has been much demanded with our favorite person on this channel, Xi Jinping, in a segment we like to call Wazzup Beijing.
Wazzup Beijing.
Yes! Wazzup Beijing is back, baby. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've covered the goings on in the Far East's biggest economy and the second largest economy in the world. And I want to start today not by talking about Xi Jinping himself, but by a random white guy that you probably haven't heard of named Ray Dalio. Now, Ray Dalio is a guy that is a chief investment officer for Bridgewater Associates, and he writes a lot about the economy in big, grand terms. And there's some things he's written that I think are pretty intelligent. However, one thing he's been consistent about for years is how confident he is that China will dominate the globe. Back in 2021, Ray Dalio said he's bullish on China, and he listed all these stocks that he thought were going to be unstoppable. Every single one of them is down 60, 70% since this point, but it's not worth really talking about. He also has this chart that he uses to talk about great empires, where he basically said that China is on the rise, USA is on the decline, and pretty soon China will stop them and become the great power of the world. He's been doing this for a while. It's been years of this, talking about this with Ray Dalio. And the best way to tell you that China's economy is in a tough spot lately is that when Ray Dalio goes on a podcast and says this.
I think that there are real issues in China now, and they changed really in the last 4 years.
There are real issues in China now. When he says there's problems, when the world's biggest glazer comes out and says, yo, there's some real fucking problems, then you know shit's getting real. A while ago, I did a presentation on China's real estate troubles. And I mentioned during that presentation that youth unemployment in China had risen really high. And then they just stopped reporting it. They canceled reporting it. Months later, they started reporting it again and it had mysteriously fallen. And they said, we basically took out all students. If you're a student, even part-time, you're not included, even if you're looking for a job and can't find one. Even with this new method, the unemployment rate shot right back up. Even with the non-student new method, it is now back to basically where it was in 2024. They might have to halt it again. The Chinese stock market has had a $6.5 trillion rout. 4 years of decline, basically since 2019. Their stocks are where they were before COVID, which means they've had no growth in 4 years. It's been very bad. You can see it here. This is 4 other major nation stock markets, and then black is China, okay? They're only one down from from 2023, from the last year. If you go through Guangzhou, you will see people desperately listing their apartments for lease or rent because the price keeps falling, or like for sale, actually. Real estate continues to sink. Basically, quarter after quarter, prices continue to fall on housing and buildings in China, which obviously has a depressing effect on the economy. However, does all of that really mean, quote unquote, collapse? As The Economist loves to post, fear of a Soviet-style collapse keeps Xi Jinping up at night. Look how sad he looks. And since Xi Jinping finally got this sad at the stock market going down and down and down, and the unemployment rate going up and up and up, he finally decided to do what America did when faced with the same problem in 2008. He brought out the money bazooka. At long last, this week, China pulled the trigger on a bold stimulus package. American investors are saying buy everything, and so are Chinese investors. They cut interest rates to nothing. They provided funding for brokers to literally buy stocks. Government money going to brokers to buy stocks. They're giving bank loans to support stock buybacks. They're cutting mortgage rates even if you have an existing loan. So if you have a mortgage loan that's at, like, let's say 6%, they're cutting your existing loan. They're forcing banks to cut your existing loan to a lower interest rate. I mean, it is stimulus top to bottom, full juice, fire the bazooka money cannon. And in response, Chinese stocks have absolutely mooned. This is the Chinese stock market, okay? Falling, falling, falling. Then a few days ago, they announced stimulus. It hit a new yearly all-time high in like a day, dude. Everything rallied. The money cannon is hit hard and fast. This is the CSI 300, kind of equivalent to American S&P 500, hyper rallied. This is the CBSE 50, which is kind of equivalent to our Dow Jones. This had its largest one-day rally in the history of their stock market. They have never had this much of a rally in one day. As full disclosure, I have some leftover Alibaba stock that I didn't sell. I made $15,990 in a day. In a day, bro. I didn't even remember I had this, which is enough for me to buy 484 copies of this poster, which I will be doing, a celebration of Xi Jinping's glory. And more stimulus seems to be to come. China's premier affirms need for policy speed. Not only are we're launching the money bazooka, we're doing it fast and adding more stimulus as things come up. People have been begging for this in China for months, if not a year. They finally unleashed the bazooka. What will it mean is the main question. Will China's surprise stimulus actually work? Because again, they've never done anything this big, but they've done smaller stimulus in the past and it often fizzles out. Some people say this stimulus is a game changer that is going to turn China's economy back to rip-roaring growth. Others say it's an adrenaline shot that's only buying China a little bit of time. What's the answer? Likely, as with most things China, somewhere in the middle. Somewhere between collapse in 30 days and guaranteed world domination, China's likely to trudge along, and this will at least bring some wind back into the sails of the economy. Generally, it's tough to say. These are such a new concept that we can't obviously figure out the long-term implications after 3 days of the stimulus being enacted, let alone even, or announced, let alone enacted. However, I do want to say, for people that are in this camp, I think you're probably a little crazy. If America survived 2008 and the Great Depression, it's very unlikely that the world's second largest economy is going to collapse. It's going to be tough times. I'm sure stimulus can't overcome all of the problems, but likely they'll be able to keep going. If they don't, we'll be able to cover it every week here on Wazzup Beijing in Marketing Monday. Thank you for watching, and tune in every week to see more updates on what's going on with China and the world and the economy on our show. Thanks for watching.